Hi everybody, it's crazy Aunt Suzie here with my fabulous Sex-Cast. And this week, oh my gosh, we have, are you ready to start this puppy? Here we go, and let's see, there we go. Are you ready to start this puppy? Here we go, and let's see, there we go. Putting this number down there. Let me make sure the sound is turned down here. There we go. And we're going to do a countdown here. And here we go. Hi, everybody. It's crazy Aunt Suzie here with my fabulous Sex-Cast. And this week, oh my gosh, we have the iconic American Pleasure Products brand. Oh my God, Doc Johnson. Well, Doc Johnson's not our guest, but the CEO of the company, Chad Braverman, is our special guest. I'm so excited. And on the line with me is Ashlyn Berry, my producer. Hey, Ashlyn.
Hey, Aunt Suzie. I'm so excited for today's interview.
I have so many questions for little Chad. Oh my God, I've seen pictures of him. I saw the Forbes magazine that they did on him. Oh my God, he's like the little nephew I never had. I just can't wait to meet him. But hold on, I see somebody coming up on the driveway, coming from the driveway. Hold on one second. Oh my, hello? Oh my, Chad Braverman, how are you? Welcome to my fabulous Sex-Cast.
Hi, how are you?
Don't you love these young men? They always are speechless for just a few moments when they see me for the very first time. I dressed just for you, Chad, just for you. This fabulous outfit. I wore my best dripping diamonds that I could. Let me tell you something. I am so excited about this interview, and so is Ashlyn, because you are the biggest of, as we say, pleasure product manufacturers, sales in the country, maybe in the world?
We are the largest U.S. manufacturer of pleasure products, yes.
Now, I want to tell everybody the reason why we call it pleasure products. Some of you people, from Middle America, somewhere out there, call it sex toys, but it's a much more refined way to call it pleasure products. Am I right?
That's the new term.
That's the new term.
When we first started this company in '76, it was marital aids.
You're kidding, really?
Then it became that was what people called it back then.
Wow.
Then it was sex toys, which obviously lasted for probably the better part of 30 years.
Right.
And then I would say maybe the last 5 or so years, it's been pleasure products.
Pleasure products. And let me tell you, going into one of my stores, we kind of look at it as like the Neiman Marcus of pleasure products, because everything is so nice. But let's find out a little bit about you. I was reading your bio, and your father, Ron Braverman, started the company, correct?
Yeah, he started it back in 1976.
Right, and the funny part was, growing up as a young boy, you had no idea what your family did to make a living. Am I right? It's sort of like the Circus of Books documentary. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm actually in it.
Get out of here! Really? Are you?
For an absolute split second, they are at one of our conventions, and you just see me walk in front of the camera, like on my phone in our Doc Johnson booth, and a lot of my friends and some people that I work with who had already watched the documentary kept sending it to me.
Oh my God!
They're like, "Is this you?"
Aww.
And I'm like, "Yeah, of course that's me. I'm unmistakable."
Well, the funny part that I found, what I thought was really interesting, was that the you grew up not knowing until what, you were like 15, that this is what your folks did, your father did for a living.
Yeah, I was about 13 when I found out, finally for real found out.
Well, all young boys figure things out when they're 13.
I was from the generation where you could lie to people.
No, for real?
There was no internet. There was nothing to go and find out who my dad was. Mm-hmm. I couldn't Google him. I couldn't Google Doc Johnson. I knew the name of the company, and obviously I knew my dad and
Right.
information that I could easily access today,
Mm-hmm.
I was not able to, access back in, 1990, whatever it was. So yeah, I mean, he basically told me that he was in import-export, which a 10-year-old has no idea what import-export means.
Right.
And that was the story that I bought up until, I started piecing things together. There were things I overheard.
Mm-hmm.
There was stuff that I kind of thought was sexual in nature.
Mm-hmm.
But I was not of an age to really understand what a pleasure product was, or what it would be used for, per se. So I wasn't able to really kind of hone in on the fact that maybe like my dad made these products.
Right. So.
And he still never told me what he does for a living.
Oh, so you just walked in with this. Okay, it was sort of like an understanding, like you knew what they did, and that was it.
I think one day he felt like I knew, and then it spared him having to have that conversation.
Right.
So he just never had it.
Get it, and there you go.
It just was easier to never have it.
All right, much easier. But anyway, my son knows the difference between all these different products. I'm telling you. So what was it? So what was it like growing up? In the business, like, okay, so you were 13. When did you start working? I think it was like 15 in the company.
Yeah, I started like my summer going into freshman year of high school. So I would have been, like 14 and like right around 15.
So you knew then what was going on, sort of, right?
Yeah, at that point I knew, and my dad, who basically, he worked his entire, life, and he basically told me, you have to work over the summer. I don't care if you work for me, but you've got to work somewhere. Like, you have to have a summer job.
Right.
And I, of course, was like, well, then I'm going to come work for you because, like, I don't want to work for someone else.
Right.
So I started working in just all the different departments of the company. Again, as an actual manufacturer, we have our production facilities here, our shipping facilities here. Everything is here in this facility in Los Angeles. So he just basically said to me, you got to start learning the company. If this is what you want to do later on in life, this will be very good for you. And if you decide that you don't want to work here, whatever.
Right.
You still had to do it.
Wow. And then you went to college and you studied business and you got out, and then now you're the COO, the Chief Operating Officer of the whole company. That's incredible. So,
Chief Operating Officer and Chief Creative Officer.
What is Creative Officer?
Basically just, sets the vision for the company in terms of what are we going to do for product development? What's our aesthetic going to be? What's our artwork look like? What's the tone of Doc Johnson, in terms of all the creative work that we do, whether it be marketing, press, packaging, product development, etc. So it's overseeing all of the creative departments that we have here.
So you say you find yourself looking at all the trends in the business, in the pleasure product business, the porn business, things like that. So you're always trying to stay on top of everything to see what's hip and cool, right?
I look at our industry for sure. I think that's necessary, but honestly, I try and look at other industries more.
What do you mean?
I just like to see what else is out there. Very rarely, if I'm looking at packaging, do I look at my industry. I'll go to look at, I don't know, Sephora, or something like that. You could go look at the beauty industry. You can go look at the tech industry, see how people are packaging products, what newness is being developed that's not within the adult industry, because not necessarily trying to have that same aesthetic as a competitor of mine. I'm trying to find out what's happening outside of this world.
What is the competition like out there in pleasure products?
Well, there's more competition than ever. That's number one. I think that our market's a little bit.
Because when you started, you guys were it, right? There were very few other companies doing what you're doing, or what?
Yeah, I mean, maybe there were half a dozen,
Right?
that were doing this, which is kind of how we got our, I would say, our brand DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Doc Johnson's kind of what we would call a one-stop shop. We have everything. We make product for every category of this industry.
I was watching videos of how they make some of the dildos, how they make some of the product that goes. It's amazing to me. How do they come up with the name Doc Johnson? Is it like, hey, it says Johnson? How did
yeah, that's what I always thought. My dad doesn't buy into that. I mean, he has a story that basically Johnson was the second most popular surname in the world.
Uh-huh.
So he wanted something very familiar and something that people knew.
Mm-hmm.
And Doc was not a doctor and not trying to take that medical route, but more of your family, sort of your friendly neighborhood doc.
Right.
That small town kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was very approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he said he put the name together.
And everybody kind of thinks it's another reason. It's like the Johnson, but not that. But that's, you know what?
Well,
that makes sense.
To me, it's very easily Dr. Penis.
Right.
So,
right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, don't touch my Johnson.
I mean, we make a lot of penises. So,
right. I know. I've seen. I have penis fatigue. So looking at some of these videos. Yeah. Oh, what can I say? Now, so let's talk about what's been happening recently. With the COVID-19, has that changed anything as far as manufacturing or the business whatsoever?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're in the thick of it. I mean, obviously we're out here in Los Angeles, right. So we were under a shutdown.
Of course, same here in Las Vegas.
Not that there was anywhere to sell the product, because basically the entire world closed for 2 months. Right. I mean, the entire world, not just this country, not just this state. This is not a localized situation. I mean, right. the entire world closed for business for 60 days.
Right. Well, we do curbside delivery now.
Do you? Yeah, I've seen that. Actually, I think that's really smart.
And it's working. But back to the world. Yeah, it is. Ashland, we've been doing pretty good, haven't we, with the online stuff?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think this quarantine may have been bad in general for business, but I think it's turned a lot of people on to the idea that they, should try something new in their sex life. So in that regard, there's a lot more interest, I think, in our industry right now.
Yeah. So Chad.
Yeah, I think it's been a positive for sex toys as a whole.
You're
Obviously,
bored.
I haven't been able to make up. Our website business is doing really well.
There you go.
But it's not a one-to-one.
Right.
I mean, the amount of business that we lost over the last 2 months is not being made up by our increase in web sales.
Correct. Yeah, and that's happening with a lot of people, unless you're Amazon and Jeff Bezos. That's the only person that's going to get
exactly, right? I mean, unless you're a fully D2C organization, I don't think that you were set up for this type of occurrence.
Right. Nobody was. Not a single person was. So you got through COVID, but let's go back a few years. I mean, let's go back to what has happened with for instance, in the porn industry. One of the things, you guys don't make DVDs and movies and stuff like that. You've been able to weather the storm that affected the movie business, the porn business, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't download a dildo, so we were.
That's my favorite thing from your Forbes interview. You can't download a dildo.
But so, I mean, we were able to see what happened there, and even though we are not a content-related company, and we don't really have to necessarily worry about, digital content versus, hard copy content and some of but I definitely think that we looked at some of the decisions that was made on that side of the business and how it could easily happen on our side of the business as well.
Gotcha.
But it did not affect us. I mean, the ways that it affected us, I think, is you had a lot of people who made their livelihood on that side of the business and realized that they no longer could, but didn't necessarily want to leave the industry, so they moved to our side of the business.
Right.
And I think that's why we're still kind of living in a period, I kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago, where I feel like our industry is very oversaturated right now. I think there's too much product, and I don't think that our consumer knows enough about our category and our industry to understand what the difference is between all these products.
Now, everything in your company is made here in the United States. It's made there in California, correct? Do you find
about 70% of our product line is made here?
Right. Is there other stuff made like in China or whatever?
Yeah, we make stuff in China and overseas.
Right.
Yeah.
But, there's just so what you're saying is there's just so many types of pleasure products that people don't, it's part of what we're doing with this podcast is, we bring people on like yourself, we bring people who've created certain brands, and they explain to people how this works, how they use it. They can ask questions and what have you, or they listen to the podcast and find out the information. I mean, for instance, you have the Sasha Grey. I was looking at the Sasha Grey cream pie pocket pussy, and that's part of the Sasha Grey bundle. I saw that on your site. Now, is Sasha Grey, is that still selling hundreds and hundreds like it was a couple of years ago?
Sasha Grey is still our number one performer.
Unbelievable. And I mean, people from all over the world want a Sasha Grey pocket pussy.
It's one of our top sellers at Suzies as well, and it has been since we brought it in, which was a while ago. Question for you, Chad. Since we're on the topic of the adult stars that come and get molded at your facility, how does that process work?
Right, that's what I was getting ready to lean into, because I was like going, now Sasha Grey, she had to pose there, and I saw the bundle. I mean, you did her butt, you did her vagina, you did her tits, you did her mouth, and I'm like, wow. So when I was like,
we do all three holes.
Thank you very much. It's sort of like it brings a new meaning to golfing, a hole in one. So the porn stars, I mean, like for instance, how do the porn stars come in and you do the penis molds, right? Like, do they watch something dirty, or do they just how does that happen? Explain to me the process of molding a celebrity's body parts.
So, a little bit different versus male or female. I will say that the females have it easier because, they can get molded in a natural state, whereas the men have to have an erection.
Right.
And
they can't fake it.
You touched on something, that people don't think about necessarily, which is you're not really walking around with an erection. You're not necessarily able to just get an erection on command,
right?
And we're sitting here in more of a business environment here. There's no, even though we're molding your genitalia, there's no, but we do have a private area for them to go if they would like to, watch something on their phone, or do whatever they need to do in order to achieve an erection. And then basically what we tell them is, I mean, I can say anything on this podcast. Like
anything. You can say whatever. I was going to say, do you all have fluffers? That give people who
No, so we don't have fluffers. We don't have fluffers, and that's and that's one of those things about business, right? Like I can't have someone bring a fluffer in here in front of my employees because fluffing is sexual in nature. I can't have them starting to manipulate someone like while my people are there.
Gotcha.
So what we kind of say is like, look, go into the bathroom, watch some porn or whatever you want to watch.
Right.
Get an erection.
Right.
And when you're hard, like, come out right away and, like, let's do this. And we will be ready with the material, and we will pour this material into this canister that we basically use for the men.
Right.
And we just hope to get the best cast that we can get. With the women, it's a lot easier. We have a table here. They undress. They open up their legs, and we're able to use this plaster material just right there on their body.
Because the material that you use,
there's not really a lot of work involved in that one.
Right, because that doesn't take long for that to get hard, no pun intended.
We also have someone here who is like a really unbelievable artist, especially with clay.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these casted products, whether it's male or female, the next stage from the cast is to pour clay into that cast, and then that's where our sculptor will start to bring that piece back to full replication of the body part.
Huh.
So, for instance, if a guy, let's say, has an 8-inch erection, that's what he's known as, and then we cast him, and, he starts to go a little bit soft during the casting, which happens all the time, and we end up with a 6-inch piece.
Right. So
we will sculpt that back to an 8-inch hard-on.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It does. It does make sense.
But obviously that takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of detail involved in that, because what people have to realize is you're talking about skin texture. You're talking about, veins on a man's penis. You're talking about all these little intricate details that make every single dick different than another person's, and vaginas as well.
Right. And
and so we are very serious about pulling that replication and making it
authentic.
Exact
and authentic. Yeah, because people they're not cheap, and people want and there are people that want to have they want to feel like they have the real thing.
Yeah, and listen, it's a part of the fantasy. I think with the amount of content that people can watch today, if Sasha Grey is your favorite performer, we'll use her as an example. Why not? And you're going to go online and you're going to watch a Sasha Grey, video, and you're going to have this product with you now, and it's kind of an extra step to the fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So we want it to be as lifelike as possible, and we want it to be as realistic as possible. People are also more vocal than ever. If it didn't look like the performer, there would be people online telling us.
That's not what we saw in the movie. It's much different. Yeah, because people...
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the whole world has changed. The whole sexual... they talk about the sexual revolution back in the 60s, late 60s and 70s, but there's more of a freedom nowadays than there ever has been, when it comes to what people expect and what they want. Now, here's a question, because I come from Hollywood. Now, do you have to license these penises and vaginas? Is there copyright issues, or do they sign it? How does that work?
No, these are all partnerships. They're all in the deals. They're making money from every single one of their units sold.
So cool. So it's
everyone that we work with, everyone that we've ever molded, that's a partnership between that performer and Doc Johnson.
Wow. So that's interesting. So when people come to when people come in for a job, how many people, there are a lot of people, sculptors, have they been with you for a long time, or do you get new people all the time? Or because I'm just wondering what the job application would be like.
Sure. Yeah. The sculptor that's been with us has actually been with us for over 20 years.
Okay, so it's not like you have to go this is your job. You're going to be sculpting penises, and you're going to be carving out vaginas. I'm just wondering what that job interview would be like. That's all.
Yeah, luckily, very luckily for us, the woman that works for us is amazing and super, super talented and has been very happy here.
Right.
And we haven't had to look for somebody else.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I just.
How do you choose new people to mold? Because I know, with your main squeeze line, which we carry at Suzies, you guys added girls of social media, so social media stars, which I think is so smart because people, the rise of OnlyFans and things like that. people are looking for more internet celebrities. So how do you pick who you're going to mold next?
Yeah, so, we look at it. I mean, listen, part of it's a popularity contest, right? No doubt. I mean, I would say that. As a company that invented this category of product, I mean, we did this for the first time over 35 years ago. We were the first people to ever mold a performer, male and female. I mean, we molded John Holmes, was our first male star ever molded.
Right.
And, I think our first ever female was Barbara Dare. And we had a partnership with Vivid Video for a long time. Any girl that was ever signed to a Vivid contract as like a Vivid girl was also signed to Doc Johnson for a product. So part of it is, sure, a popularity thing. I think another part of it is us trying to find interesting and unique performers that is speaking to different fans out there, different crowds that we're trying to like either introduce the Doc Johnson products to, or someone that maybe just does something different than some other performers that we have. So whether it's someone who is it could be an aesthetic thing. It could be something where they look different. It could be something where they perform differently and they are part of a different sort of subcategory in our business. And then the social media thing, that's the new world. And I think what we wanted to look at was who's outside of the industry, because up until this point, the only females and males that have ever been molded they're porn stars, and they shoot porn and they have content, but a lot of fantasy around some of these social media girls right now is, I want to like have sex with these girls, but they're not porn stars. There's no sexually related content of them. But we were able to sort of, develop this business plan, and we pitched this concept to a bunch of people, and luckily a lot of people really understood what we were talking about and really understood the concept of it, and we were able to, over the course of like 2 years, we were able to partner with, I think at this point, maybe 6 or 7 different girls who are like the girls of social media.
Right. I mean, some of these people have 150, 250, a million freaking followers. Hell.
Oh, we have some people that have 16.5 million followers. I mean, Britannia 187 has 16.5 million followers, and I think Playmate Irina has upwards of 10 right now. Viking Barbie has like 7 or 8 million. I mean, I can tell you that with our girls of social media and our traditional stars like Danny Daniels, some of these girls who have really large followings. I mean, we are bringing, on the main squeeze line alone, we are bringing over 600 million eyeballs to your customers.
Wow,
like,
that's amazing.
These people, when you as a store, for instance, who buys into a main squeeze branded product, that's how we're trying to sell this as well. Is we're saying, like, look, this is how many people we're bringing to this product.
Right.
Like, they follow this person. And if they follow that person, there's a very good chance that they also follow somebody else, or they're going to see that Britannia 187 has a main squeeze. Now they're going to look at the main squeeze product, and they're going to start seeing these other girls as well.
Wow. And so
that's awesome.
And so they do. So
Question.
Go ahead. I was just going to say. So how do they? So they order these things, these Instagram models and the social media girls and stuff and guys. So is this on your website that they order these, or do the artists or the models themselves have their own websites that they sell? How does that work?
Yes, all of the above. I mean, we do have a portal through our website where you could purchase these products. They're also sold in almost every adult retailer around the world. A lot of these girls maintain very significant online presence as well. So they have e-shops on their websites where you can go and buy the product. They market it through their Snapchat. They market it through their OnlyFans. They market it through even their Instagram account, even though that one's a lot more difficult because Instagram is owned by Facebook. And, they flag people like us, and they shadow ban people like us, and they do all this stuff.
Yep. I get it. I get more shade than I do under a magnolia tree in the South. Sometimes from Facebook. It's like amazing. Somebody, go ahead.
I have one more question
Sure.
with the main squeeze lines, just because I'm a big dork and I have to ask the nerdy questions. Have you ever considered doing like a popular cosplayer as a main squeeze toy?
Say that again?
Yeah, I don't know. A popular
Like a
cosplay is what you're
cosplayer.
saying, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them have, OnlyFans or things like that. So I figured maybe that was something on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that it is. I mean, I can say that we have a lot of stuff on the horizon with Main Squeeze, and I think sites like OnlyFans and some of these other cam, sites as well, and obviously Snapchat and just these different ways that individuals now are able to get in front of consumers has, and I think we've shown as sort of first movers into this world that, we're trying to better, the audience for them, and like we're trying to provide product that they can sort of expand their like range. So sometimes it's there's nothing that we're not looking at, I can say, in regards to expanding Main Squeeze and what arena we're choosing to do that in is not limited.
Got that?
If that
answer?
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's awesome. I can't wait to see the new ones that you come up with. I know at Suzies, the girls with social media do really well, so excited to see more.
No, that is,
Yeah, I think the girls with social media is a huge, like we're at the tip of the iceberg on that.
Heck yes. I know, because
Like we have not even explored. There's so much left to do here.
Right. And and people listen. Sex sells. It's part of our DNA. It's a human. It's we are as humans. Even as old as I am, it's still there. And there was always.
Well, I think it also. Sorry, not to cut you off. I think it's also, it's a very good understanding of how our industry has sort of become more mainstream and more acceptable.
Right.
I think a few years ago, girls who were not in the porn industry would not be comfortable replicating their genitalia for someone to purchase, and use for a specific sexual pleasure.
Right. It's the same thing as, I was going to
the
say,
idea of not shaming people and the idea of our industry becoming more mainstream and more acceptable and less taboo, I think has really allowed these people to, try things that they would have maybe never tried before, or maybe their management team would have made them shy away from.
Right. It's like now it's okay to be a sex worker. And in the past, you were like, you're a hooker. No, you are a sex worker. And it comes with a different label. So tell us, what's next for Doc Johnson? What else do you got up your sleeves? Anything coming up in the future? Anything technical stuff coming up? I've heard about some of these technical, these tech gadgets for toys and pleasure products.
Yeah, different ways to connect people. You're right. I mean, I think that's what I'll be honest with you. I probably would have answered this question a little differently like 2 months ago than I could answer it today.
Okay.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what a post-COVID world looks like. Part of me feels like people are going to be craving sort of like interpersonal connection as much as possible. And then the other part of me feels like maybe people are going to kind of shy away from that interpersonal connection, and they might be looking for toys to connect them.
Right.
Over online platforms and the way that, you can now control toys via the internet and via your phone, and you might be able to have a sexual experience with someone that's not in person.
Halfway around the world.
And so and so I think luckily for us, there's some things that we've already been investing in heavily for that. So I think there's some things you'll see from us in the next, year or so that will speak to that. kind of concern that maybe people are going to have in a post-COVID world.
Because we don't know.
Other than that, honestly, we had a show coming up in July, which unfortunately we just had to postpone.
Right.
Which we were going to be showing about 30 new products at.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also kind of decided to hold on many of those developments just because, as I said, I think our market is already oversaturated. And then we have a situation where people are trying to get back on their feet. To me, it makes a lot more sense right now to invest in our people and to invest in the 2,000 products that I already have available for you. And, and try new and interesting ways to explain those products to you, to enlighten you about those products, and to obviously eventually, sell those products to you. Because if I never made another product ever again, I probably have enough products here to carry me for a few years.
Gotcha. I'm telling you.
But that being said, newness is newness, and there's a lot of stuff that we are working on, but it's just kind of been delayed a little bit.
I'm telling you, Chad, you know what? I love having people on the show like yourself because I can just sit back and press on because you are so adorable and the information that you've given us is just incredible. And I just, there are people I have to go, okay, what next? What can I pull out of my ass here to get them to say? You are absolutely a sweetheart. And I hope once things get calmed down, you'll let us come in and do a tour because we're going to be doing video as well. And I would love to be able to come in, me and Ashlyn, and do a tour of the company and see how they pour these molds. Maybe not be there when the guy comes out of the bathroom with an erection, but then again, that could be a cheap thrill for me. But would you think...
you got to come by. I think that no matter what happens, like anybody that knows what we do, no matter what they see online, it's a different story. When you come here and actually see it in person, it's a game changer.
So is that a deal? We're going to be able to do this sometime soon once things calm down? You are absolutely...
That's a deal on my end.
That's a deal. Well, you hear that, Ashlyn? Tell TJ and Tim.
I'm writing it down.
Writing it down. Our asses are heading to LA because that's where I've lived most of my life, Chad. So what can I say? I understand. We are so happy to have had you on today, and we look forward to even speaking to you soon when you have some of this new technology that you can share with us. And what can I say?
Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It's so much fun, and this will be up tomorrow, and you can go on Facebook, and Ashlyn will give you the information. You can see my fabulous self and my wonderful hair that I did just for you. Anyway, Ashlyn, thank you so much. Our guest today, Chad Braverman, the COO of just the most incredible company that brings pleasure to the world. This is Aunt Suzie, and we'll see you next time.